Turn to somebody and say, and now the inflection on this is going to be very important. I want you to say it in a way that is invitational. Not a command, but an invitation to live in the promise. Are you ready? Turn to somebody and say, be perfect. Be perfect. Be perfect. Be perfect. You may be seated. Kevin told me as we were setting up this morning that he says he's perfect in his imperfections. We might all agree with that, right? And yet here we have this another fun gospel to read this morning, to hear these things that seem so difficult to understand. So spoiler alert, next Sunday is the Sunday of the Transfiguration when Jesus goes up on the mountain, and that of course is our lead into Ash Wednesday during that week that follows. Well, be perfect. An invitation. We just heard a great testimony from Evan this morning. What a great kid. We love Evan. We love all our kids. We have a lot of great kids here in our congregation, but I was just really pleased that we could have Evan share a little bit of his story. Boy, he seems pretty close to perfect, doesn't he, Katie? Could you affirm that for us? Oh, wait a second. You live with him all the time, don't you? What is it, perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Because I know that we have talked and she has said, there are times when truly he seems to speak things that come from God, and she has to stop and wonder, where did that come from? If you're kind of familiar with the concept of an old soul, there's Evan to show you that. But perfect is a real, wow, what a level to set somebody up to make him perfect. And yet Mom is saying, yep, that's it. Perfect son. Do any of you know Herman? So Herman is one of the firefighters on Chicago Fire. And I have to confess that I'm always glad that if I have an evening meeting on a Tuesday that I can make it home by 10 o'clock, because that is just a favorite. We just enjoy watching Chicago Fire. And Herman, if you remember him, if you're thinking about him, if you watch the show, he is the show's patron saint of harebrained ideas and get-rich-quick schemes that never seem to work out. He is one of the owners, one of the co-owners, along with several of his other colleagues, of Molly's Bar. A bar that is frequented by all the other firefighters and by the pantheon of other Chicago shows. So Chicago PD shows up there, Chicago Medics show up there, and I'm sure Chicago Justice will be showing up there when that show starts up in a couple of weeks. They all end up at Molly's to spend the evening. I guess it's like a place where everybody knows your name, right? And so this week's show opens with Herman counting money in the bar after closing, alone. Tell me how smart this is, Tom. With the door unlocked. Anybody? Hello? And so in walks this guy, hooded, unkempt, dirty, homeless street guy who can't seem to figure out what "we're closed" means. Trouble for Herman, right? But he listens to this guy's sad story about how he needs, are you ready for this? A couple of $100 to go and buy a suit and get a haircut because he just got a new job. I don't know how he got the job looking the way he did, but nonetheless, he needed it so that he could start his new... Say again?
He was going for an interview.
He was going for the interview? Did you see the show? He was going for the interview. He didn't have the job yet. Okay, that explains it, right? So he wants all of this, he explains to Herman, so he can be responsible and so that he can be closer to his kids. Well, Herman is, if you know him at all, a good Catholic with a big family, and he is a sucker for anything that has to do with family. And so he forks over from his stack a whole bunch of bills, it turns out a couple $100 as a loan to this guy. Well, when he tells his colleagues when they're back at House 51 the next shift about what he did, they spend, predictably, right, the rest of the show razzing him about his foolishness, about how he's never going to see that money again. They come and they want to go see some movies about, all about people who have been taken because they've done something good and they've been taken advantage of. And so they keep on him mercilessly through the whole show until they're at the closing credits, back at Molly's bar. In walks this good-looking guy with a nice haircut and decent clothes on. And sure enough, he's there to see the owner. He wants to pay back what Herman had given him. And so Herman responds with what? Of course, drinks on the house. Everybody enjoy. He wanted to celebrate. Herman is vindicated. But truthfully, Herman was vindicated already, even before the man came to pay back what he had loaned. He was vindicated because in his heart, he knew he did the right thing, regardless of the outcome, and regardless of what his other friends thought about him. So is he perfect? I mean, he's following what it said in the gospel this morning. If you listen to the gospel, it says, lend to anybody who has need. Does that make him perfect? Well, hardly. So if Evan is perfect because Mom says so, and we'll buy that, and Herman is not so perfect, anybody else want to raise their hand saying, I feel like I'm perfect? We would probably want to check on raising our hands even on saying, yeah, pretty good sometimes, right? Maybe not even there, right? But maybe that's where we're getting to the point. We've got to stop for just a moment and see about this invitation that you just shared with each other to be perfect. What does that even mean? What does it look like to be perfect? To be perfect, in fact, like our Father in heaven is perfect. Is that even possible? What does the word perfect mean? The translation is a strange one, actually. In the Greek, the word that is used there is telos. Telos, T-E-L-O-S. And actually what telos refers to is a goal, a destination, an end that we have in mind, a purpose that we seek to follow. It suggests that what Jesus is getting at is not some moral level of achievement that would allow us to say that we're perfect. Not even to have victory over sin in our lives, because even that we know is not perfect. Otherwise we would do away with confession and forgiveness at the beginning of our service. But we need it, don't we? But rather that being perfect is us moving towards our goal, the goal for which we have been designed and created. So telos could also be used for some other things. For example, if you had an arrow, right? If you're pulling a bow and arrow, the telos of the arrow, what would it be, do you think? If you shoot an arrow at a target, if you got a bullseye, straight into the bullseye, that would be the arrow's telos. It made it to its end purpose, to its goal. What about a peach tree? Anybody have an idea what the telos of a peach tree is? Rich, juicy, delicious peaches, right? That's the telos of a peach tree. What about a bus driver? What's a bus driver's telos? Get to the destination. Get the passengers on the bus to their end destination safely. What about a rainbow? What is a rainbow's telos? I'm hearing different things, but say it louder. I bring a microphone out if you need it.
Complete.
To be complete? Tell me what you mean by that. Oh, to see the whole thing, right? What else is a telos of a
Get to see all the colors?
to see all the colors.
How about a double rainbow?
A double rainbow even, right? So it says to me, maybe the purpose of a rainbow is in part to tell us of God's beauty in creation, to see all those colors and how God cares about beauty. But you could also, if you're a scientist, a mathematician, you could talk about how each color is being bent and refracted in just such a way that the white light that comes down is turned into this beautiful rainbow of colors, and that tells us something about how it was designed. So then you know what the next question is going to be. What is our telos? What is our purpose? What is our goal as children of God? What is it that we are perfectly created, perfectly designed to be and to do? I like Eugene Peterson's take on this. If you know who he is, if you've ever read The Message, which is his special version translation of the Scriptures, he takes verse 48 and translates it, and in his translation, he doesn't even use the word perfect. But listen to Jesus speaking to his disciples, speaking to us, saying, in a word, what I'm saying is, grow up. You're kingdom subjects. Now live like it. Live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously towards others the same way that God lives towards you. God is calling us through Jesus to claim our true identity as God's chosen and beloved people. We heard it from the Leviticus reading already, right? What was it all about? How do we live in community? And it tells us there not to be perfect, right? But to be holy. And so the same sense comes to us that we as the people of God are here to change the world. I love what Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you wish to see in the world. No use standing around and talking about how other people aren't doing the job or aren't making it happen. No point in griping about what's going on, but do what is right and what is necessary. Be the change that you wish to see. Note that changing the world is not the same as saving the world. Thanks be to God. That job remains in Jesus' hands. Saving the world is not what we're called to do. Changing it for the better, there it is. Martin Luther reminds us that the power of God's grace in our lives is always that we are becoming, not that we have arrived. We're on the journey. Think about that. Our job is not to bring the kingdom. Our job is to live like we really, truly believe that Jesus is bringing the kingdom, and then to live into that reality. This morning our council is being installed. Yesterday we had our first meeting, so we already got started. And we began to lay out some ideas that we need to turn into plans of action. We encourage each other to be not just managers, but leaders. Leaders with vision and with purpose. To recognize and realize who we are as a community of faith in this community, and to live and move into the reality of that. So, council members, we're being called to be perfect. To live into what God is calling us to do. And you know what? The great thing is we have the prayers of the whole congregation backing us up, because they're going to be walking this journey with us. May God's promise always give us the strength to move forward into all that we know ourselves to be. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.